Right, this one's about personality disorders. I've noticed some striking similarities between some personality disorders and feminists and women. Now, at this point, I must stress that I'm in no way a medical professional. I have, however, had a fascination for years as to why people behave in the way they do. So I have studied these things purely for my own self-interest. I've included a few traits briefly in order to help you recognize potentially problematic people that you may encounter throughout your journey in life, and this can include men as well as women. I, for one, wish I'd learnt this information years ago. It definitely would have made life a little bit easier. First one is body dysmorphic disorder, if I'm saying that right. I've included this because it usually goes in hand with some of the other conditions, and so it can be an early warning to alert you to be on the lookout for the other problematic ones. Body dysmorphic disorder, BDD, is a form of mental illness where a person views their own appearance as unsightly or highly defective, often despite the fact that any perceived flaw may in fact be totally non-existent. Usually they try to hide the flaw, but it is almost always in the forefront of their mind, and in many cases they will seek to get cosmetic surgery in an attempt to rectify it. Sound familiar? Just take a look at the number of women opting for unnecessary surgery just because they don't like what they were born with. So next we have narcissistic personality disorder. These people will have an unshakable belief that they are far superior to those around them. Not only do they have such an elevated, self-important, overinflated view of themselves, but they expect others to recognize their superiority, even though their achievements are somewhat average. These people lack empathy for others. They're arrogant in both attitude and behavior, and unrealistically expect to be singled out for special treatment just for being who they are. Constantly requiring a stream of attention, admiration, and positive reinforcement from those around them, often their thoughts are preoccupied with fantasizing about their power, superior intelligence, and their enormous attractiveness, and just how successful they are. This behavior is actually an attempt to boost their self-esteem and to validate their own self-worth. They are highly envious of others, while at the same time holding an unshakable belief that they are the object of envy. In reality, they have such a fragile self-esteem and are so adverse to criticism that they will compensate by belittling and/or being disparaging about others, often displaying dramatic and highly emotional and/or violent behavior. An example: a TV show in the US had a group of women discussing a story about a man that had his penis cut off by his wife, simply because he asked her for a divorce. She drugged him, tied him up, cut off his penis, and then threw it in the waste disposal unit. Now, obviously genital mutilation is not only a serious matter, but a horrendous crime. Yet these women were laughing and joking. They thought it was hilarious, as did all the women in the audience. The clear disrespect for the man, total lack of empathy for the mutilation, quite clearly are indicative of a narcissistic personality disorder. Now for a little history. The word narcissism comes from the Greek mythology. Narcissus was a hunter and was renowned for his great beauty. One day Nemesis took him to a pool. Upon seeing his reflection he fell in love and was unable to tear himself away, and subsequently he died. So why do I tell you that story? Well, think about it. Who in this day and age will spend hours looking at the reflection in a mirror, putting on makeup, false eyelashes, plucking their eyebrows, and generally thinking of their beauty. Who now takes dozens of selfies every day and posts them on the internet just to get praise on their looks? Yep, women. Or should I say narcissists? Well, maybe. But you have to admit, there's a striking similarity in the behaviour. The next one's becoming more common in society these days, and that is borderline personality disorder. Researchers suggest that BPD develops through a combination of factors, including temperament, childhood and adolescent experiences. So it would not be unreasonable to think that the absence of a father in their lives may actually be leading to the increase. As the ever-increasing single mother culture grows, and with more and more fathers being denied a presence in their children's lives, I can't see this trend changing. So it stands to reason that borderline personality disorder will also continue to increase. One point of note is that it seems to affect women more than it does men. Another problem that I see with this is in the name. Borderline personality disorder does not seem to really express the true nature of this condition. It tends to suggest that it's not really that bad. There is a lesser used term which is more indicative of the true nature of the condition, and this is emotionally unstable personality disorder. This is far more revealing and accurate, as it shows just how bad this disorder can be. It also shows just how dangerous they can be, both to themselves and to the lives of those people around them. It's a bit like playing with a bomb that has a mercury vibrational trigger. Extremely stupid. You would think that narcissism would be worse, but in reality the devastation caused by any form of relationship with these people can easily make narcissists seem like a breath of fresh air. The reason's simple. The narcissist, once understood, can effectively be controlled, simply by feeding their ego. Emotionally unstable personality disorder is by far more extreme. Basically, they are on the border of total psychosis, barely functional in regards to normal society. These people, more often than not, will have extreme or intense impulsivity issues, both with their emotional moods and with their actions. They have no thought to the consequences of their behaviour, and accept no responsibility for them either. Not only can it get very nasty, but being around them for any length of time is enough to drag you into depression. Addiction is common. Not just the usual things like sex, drugs, drink, smoking, or even food. It can be anything, like money, shoes, handbags. And no matter how much they have, it will never be enough. Finally, we have complex post-traumatic stress disorder. Complex PTSD is much harder to diagnose. It's often rooted in childhood issues and is now starting to be recognized much more by psychiatrists. Throughout their childhood, where the victim is trapped in an abusive and controlled environment, they suffer conflicting rules for behavior, and this breaks down their sense of self. This inflicts multiple traumas on their psyche at differing ages in their lives. The end result is a person that grows up not knowing why they are stressed out, miserable, sad, uncomfortable, or just not happy. And where have we heard that line before? Well, that was the most common reason women give for divorce. Given that the emotional injuries are much deeper, multi-layered, and occurred at varying ages throughout their childhood, these injuries operate on multiple levels in their lives. This causes chaos in their lives and the lives of everyone around them. It leads to catastrophic thinking. They imagine the most horrible, paranoid, and dreadful end result to normal everyday situations. There is chaos in relationships because they don't have a clue who they are. and they've got no sense of self. Often they will see you as the best person in the world one day, and the most evil the next. They will also suffer from serious abandonment issues, often to such an extent that they will deliberately create situations that lead you to having no choice but to abandon them. Or they will abandon you first to avoid the pain of being abandoned. In addition, there'll be displays of intense bursts of anger or violence over seemingly insignificant issues. Other warning signs are disassociation from the reality of their life and detachment from those around them. As they have no sense of who they are, as such, it's hard for them to associate with others. The pain they carry is so deeply buried that often they are unaware of why they behave in such a negative way. It's not possible to help them, as they must first admit there's a problem and really want to address the situation. On top of that, the medical profession finds it difficult to deal with complex PTSD. It's not something that can be medicated. Instead, it requires a considerable amount of time and effort to effectively deal with it. There's also a growing belief that many of the mental health issues present in today's society are actually a result of complex PTSD, namely narcissism and the others I've mentioned. My conclusion is that while there are remarkable resemblances to a lot of women these days, this is in no way an accurate way to diagnose whether any of these conditions are actually present. That distinction belongs firmly in the realms of the professionals. I do feel, however, that it is useful information to have in your defensive arsenal. So keep your eyes open. If you do see any of these behaviours, I'd advise you to get out while you can. I hope you found this useful, and welcome to Mgtowpia. It's a much better place to live.